Good evening, and welcome to Third Church of Christ Scientist of New York City. Let's begin with singing hymn number 74. I'll read the second verse. Go, take the little open book from out the angel's hand. The word of truth is there for all to read and understand. What though the seven thunders roll, that still small voice shall make thee whole. Number 74. I'll read from the Bible and from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. The subject of this evening's readings is understanding. The Bible. Proverbs. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom and apply thine heart to understanding, yea, if thou criest after knowledge and liftest up thy voice for understanding, if thou seekest her as silver and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord giveth wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. He keepeth the paths of judgment and preserveth the way of his saints. Then shalt thou understand righteousness and judgment and equity, yea, every good path. Nehemiah. And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday, before the men and the women and those that could understand. And the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up, and Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, with lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshiped the Lord with their faces to the ground. So they read in the book of the law of God distinctly, and gave the sense, and caused them to understand the reading. Genesis. The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Matthew. Jesus sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat. And the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell among stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I unto them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, The same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. 1 Corinthians. Follow after charity, and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God, for no man understandeth him. But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification, and to exhortation, and comfort. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, but he that prophesieth edifieth the church. I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesied. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying. Wherefore let him that speaketh in an unknown tongue pray that he may interpret. For if I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding is unfruitful. What is it then? I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. I will sing with the Spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also. Revelation. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel, and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it, and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand, and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. Proverbs. When wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. And I'll now read correlative passages from the Christian Science textbook, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, by Mary Baker Eddy. The prayer that reforms the sinner and heals the sick is an absolute faith that all things are possible to God, a spiritual understanding of Him, an unselfed love. The divine being must be reflected by man, else man is not the image and likeness of the patient, tender, and true, the one altogether lovely. But to understand God is the work of eternity and demands absolute consecration of thought, energy, and desire. What we most need is the prayer of fervent desire for growth in grace, expressed in patience, meekness, love, and good deeds. To keep the commandments of our Master and follow his example is our proper debt to him, and the only worthy evidence of our gratitude for all that he has done. Outward worship is not of itself sufficient to express loyal and heartfelt gratitude, since he has said, "If ye love me, keep my commandments." The habitual struggle to be always good is unceasing prayer. Its motives are made manifest in the blessings they bring, blessings which, even if not acknowledged in audible words, attest our worthiness to be partakers of love. Simply asking that we may love God will never make us love him, but the longing to be better and holier, expressed in daily watchfulness and in striving to assimilate more of the divine character, will mold and fashion us anew until we awake in his likeness. We reach the science of Christianity through demonstration of the divine nature, but in this wicked world, goodness will be evil spoken of, and patience must bring experience. Audible prayer can never do the works of spiritual understanding, which regenerates, but silent prayer, watchfulness, and devout obedience enable us to follow Jesus' example. The world must grow to the spiritual understanding of prayer. Seeking is not sufficient. It is striving that enables us to enter. Spiritual attainments open the door to a higher understanding of the divine life. Entirely separate from the belief and dream of material living is the life divine, revealing spiritual understanding and the consciousness of man's dominion over the whole earth. This understanding casts out error and heals the sick, and with it you can speak as one having authority. If God were understood instead of being merely believed, this understanding would establish health. The accusation of the rabbis, "He made himself the Son of God," was really the justification of Jesus, for to the Christian, the only true spirit is godlike. This thought incites to a more exalted worship and self-abnegation. Spiritual perception brings out the possibilities of being, destroys reliance on aught but God, and so makes man the image of his Maker in deed and in truth. When will it be understood that matter has neither intelligence, life, nor sensation, and that the opposite, belief, is the prolific source of all suffering? When we fully understand our relation to the divine, we can have no other mind but his, no other love, wisdom, or truth, no other sense of life, and no consciousness of the existence of matter or error. In following these leadings of scientific revelation, the Bible was my only textbook. The scriptures were illumined, reason and revelation were reconciled, and afterwards the truth of Christian Science was demonstrated. No human pen nor tongue taught me the science contained in this book, Science and Health, and neither tongue nor pen can overthrow it. This book may be distorted by shallow criticism or by careless or malicious students, and its ideas may be temporarily abused and misrepresented, but the science and truth therein will forever remain to be discerned and demonstrated. Our Master said to every follower, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Heal the sick. Love thy neighbor as thyself." It was this theology of Jesus which healed the sick and the sinning. It is his theology in this book and the spiritual meaning of this theology which heals the sick and causes the wicked to forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Although this volume contains the complete science of mind healing, never believe that you can absorb the whole meaning of the science by a simple perusal of this book. The book needs to be studied, and the demonstration of the rules of scientific healing will plant you firmly on the spiritual groundwork of Christian Science. This proof lifts you high above the perishing fossils of theories already antiquated and enables you to grasp the spiritual facts of being hitherto unattained and seemingly dim. Our Master healed the sick, practiced Christian healing, and taught the generalities of its divine principle to his students, but he left no definite rule for demonstrating this principle of healing and preventing disease. This rule remained to be discovered in Christian Science. A pure affection takes form in goodness, but science alone reveals the divine principle of goodness and demonstrates its rules. Human resistance to divine science weakens in proportion as mortals give up error for truth, and the understanding of being supersedes mere belief. Until the author of this book learned the vastness of Christian Science, the fixedness of mortal illusions, and the human hatred of truth, she cherished sanguine hopes that Christian Science would meet with immediate and universal acceptance. A Christian Scientist requires my work, Science and Health, for his textbook, and so do all his students and patients. Why? First, because it is the voice of truth to this age and contains the full statement of Christian Science, or the science of healing through mind. Second, because it was the first book known containing a thorough statement of Christian Science. Hence, it gave the first rules for demonstrating this science and registered the revealed truth uncontaminated by human hypotheses. Other works, which have borrowed from this book without giving it credit, have adulterated this science. Third, because this book has done more for teacher and student, for healer and patient, than has been accomplished by other books. Since the divine light of Christian Science first dawned upon the author, she has never used this newly discovered power in any direction which she fears to have fairly understood. Her prime object since entering this field of labor has been to prevent suffering, not to produce it. St. John writes in the 10th chapter of his book of Revelation, "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth." This angel, or message which comes from God, clothed with a cloud, prefigures divine science. To mortal sense, science seems at first obscure, abstract, and dark. But a bright promise crowns its brow. When understood, it is truth's prism and praise. When you look it fairly in the face, you can heal by its means, and it has for you a light above the sun, for God is the light thereof. Its feet are pillars of fire, foundations of truth and love. It brings the baptism of the Holy Ghost, whose flames of truth were prophetically described by John the Baptist as consuming error. This angel had in his hand a little book, open for all to read and understand. Did this same book contain the revelation of divine science, the right foot or dominant power of which was upon the sea, upon elementary latent error, the source of all error's visible forms? The angel's left foot was upon the earth. That is, a secondary power was exercised upon visible error and audible sin. The still, small voice of scientific thought reaches over continent and ocean to the globe's remotest bound. The inaudible voice of truth is to the human mind as when a lion roareth. It is heard in the desert and in dark places of fear. It arouses the seven thunders of evil and stirs their latent forces to utter the full diapason of secret tones. Then is the power of truth demonstrated, made manifest in the destruction of error. Then will a voice from harmony cry, "Go and take the little book, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey." Mortals, obey the heavenly evangel. Take divine science. Read this book from beginning to end. Study it. Ponder it. It will be indeed sweet at its first taste when it heals you, but murmur not over truth if you find its digestion bitter. When you approach nearer and nearer to this divine principle, when you eat the divine body of this principle, thus partaking of the nature or primal elements of truth and love, do not be surprised nor discontented because you must share the hemlock cup and eat the bitter herbs. For the Israelites of old at the Paschal meal thus prefigured this perilous passage out of bondage into the El Dorado of faith and hope. Divine science reverses the false testimony of the material senses and thus tears away the foundations of error. Hence the enmity between science and the senses, and the impossibility of attaining perfect understanding till the errors of sense are eliminated. The so-called laws of matter and of medical science have never made mortals whole, harmonious, and immortal. Man is harmonious when governed by soul. Hence the importance of understanding the truth of being, which reveals the laws of spiritual existence. Let's pray together silently for a few moments, and then pray aloud together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Let's sing hymn number 73, 73. Glory, honor, praise, and pure oblations unto God the Lord belong. Come into his presence with thanksgiving. Come before him with a song. In his hand is all the power of nations. Sing to him, ye joyous congregations, psalms of gratitude and praise unto God the Father raise. Number 73. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. We hold Sunday services at 11 a.m. and Wednesday testimony meetings at 7:30 p.m. We also have services in Spanish, Sundays at 12 noon and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. All services are held in person and online, and all are welcome. Third Church offers Sunday school classes in person and online for children and teens. These free one-hour classes are available each Sunday. At Sunday school, students learn how much God loves them and cares for them. They also learn about the Bible characters and lessons and the healing power of prayer. For more information on times and classes, please send us an email, thirdchurch@thirdchurchnyc.com. Replays in English and Spanish are available of this church's Christmas Eve talk by Bobby Lewis, a Christian Science practitioner, on the topic, Make Room at the Inn. Please visit our website, thirdchurchnyc.com. This meeting is now open for all to share experiences of healing and spiritual insights that prove God's ever-presence and power in their lives. If you're listening by telephone and would like to speak, press *6 and wait until your line is unmuted, and then speak directly into the microphone of your phone. Your message will be easier to hear if you do not use the speaker function. If you're watching via Zoom, you can choose the raise your hand icon or unmute yourself and speak.
I'm grateful to have heard the angel's right foot and left foot citation from Science and Health. I've mentioned this before, but my teacher often said that a complete treatment begins with the latent general belief, and then one goes, if one needs to the individual's liability to this belief. And I find that helpful because it's easy to think that when we are struggling with something, whatever it is, that it's our personal problem. But in fact, whether it's sin or disease or any other sort of discord, it does not originate with individual man, or it does not originate with one's personal sense. It is a latent belief in mortal mind. And each day we defend ourselves against these latent beliefs, or sometimes called the general belief of mortal mind, when we work with trying to understand and express that we are laws unto ourselves, and that erroneous belief, the general beliefs of mortal mind, are not laws, and they cannot take over our consciousness or our bodies, our embodied consciousness, and become a law. There are several, or probably many, articles on that citation from Science and Health. One that I go to frequently, or one that I've gone to more than others, is one by Helen Wood Bauman, who was for 20 or 30 years or something like that, the editor of the periodicals, and my teacher's primary teacher. And she's got a very good article on, I think it's called The Angel's Right Foot, on how to understand that better and how to put that into practice in one's own individual life. It's very freeing. It takes away guilt. It takes away pressure. It takes away stress and burden when we know that whenever a claim appears to us to need healing, it does not originate with us, but we do have to be faithful in knowing what our individual liability is to this claim oftentimes. Thank you for your readings.
Thank you.
Thank you for the readings. The wonderful statements, or even the explanation, not only from the Bible, but the Science and Health, which brings much inspiration, enlightenment to our understanding. Generally, people believe, and they say, we believe in God. But Christian Science certainly upholds and brings an enlightenment through the wonderful teachings of Christian Science. One of these statements Mrs. Eddy said in the textbook, Christian Science brings an enlightenment understanding a sunlight of truth, which neutralizes the error and brings to our understanding the upliftment, leads into all truth. I'm so grateful that ever since I came into the fold of Christian Science, of course I was from the background, different denominations, but the wonderful explanation, wonderful teachings through the Christian Science has opened my materialistic based understanding to the spiritual understanding. I'm so grateful that there is also another statement which certainly helped me and brings healing, newness, and concept of understanding the truth of being. The statement which reads like this, Mrs. Eddy has mentioned, Christian Science is a sovereign panacea, giving strength to the weakness of mortal mind, strength from the immortal and omnipotent mind, which uplifts higher. And this understanding destroys all erroneous material-based way of thinking, materialistic religions teachings, everything which dissolves and brings the enlightenment of truth, the Christ, which changes the concept of understanding the life and know the truth of being. As also in the Revelations, in the Bible, it brings me another wonderful concept. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our God. The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our God and of His Christ. This Christ, which rules the whole world, universe, and that is the Christ which divine manifestation of God, which comes to human consciousness to destroy all the erroneous false teachings, notions of any other teachings of denomination. I'm grateful for the wonderful readings and the teachings of Christian Science. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your readings. And I was just thinking recently, if anybody were to ask me, what have you done with your life? I would have to tell them just about the only thing that I've done with my life, in my life, has been to memorize Science and Health. It's taken me over 50 years, but that's the only thing I've done. And it's been a wonderful thing. And some people have said that Science and Health enables you to understand the Bible, and ProseWorks enables you to understand science and health. So I also have studied ProseWorks, and in college I was very lost. And by the middle of my junior year, I said, that's it. I mean, I had so many questions and unanswered questions about Christian Science. I loved the truth, I'd seen it, but I still had a lot of questions, and I simply would go. I said, after class, I'm not going to do a thing until I go to the highest point on the campus, which is on bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River. The highest point in the campus was in the chapel, which is they had unmanned reading rooms, unmanned study rooms, marked books, and I would go there after class, and I said, I'm not going to do a thing until I read ProseWorks cover to cover. I hadn't read it. And I would go there after class, and the organist, the college organist, would be practicing, and she'd be playing Handel and Bach. And there was a window there, a beautiful chair overlooking the Mississippi River, and I'm reading ProseWorks. And that's where I found Christian Science. And more than that, where I found it really was when I got to Rudimental Divine Science. I hadn't read more than a few pages in ProseWorks, and I knew I was on the right road. But I got to page 5 in Rudimental Divine Science. I think the question is something about, is there no matter, something about that. And on page 5, to me, it's one of the most incredible statements that she's ever written. And it says, if you destroy each one of the 5 corporeal senses as organized matter, you either become non-existent or you exist in divine mind alone. And this latter conclusion is the simple solution to the problem of being and leads to the equal inference, there is no matter. And all of a sudden, that was my Peniel. That was like, I had seen it intellectually in Sunday school. I had seen, yes, spiritual man. But for the first time, I realized I didn't exist materially. I only existed as a spiritual idea in divine mind. That just changed my life completely. So I'm so grateful for Christian Science and everything she's written. She says, anyone who makes a study of her works cannot miss the way. If they make a study of what she's written, they cannot miss the way. So thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to share an experience I had a few weeks before Christmas. And it follows along neatly with the previous speaker about some very big ideas about matter. I was walking home from the subway. It was pouring rain. It was dark. It was cold. I had groceries, I had packages. I missed a high spot in the sidewalk. My foot hit it, I went flying, and landed in the gutter, in a mud puddle. And everything was all over the sidewalk and the street. My shoes came on my hat, my groceries were everywhere. And I couldn't move. And so I'm laying there, and in those kind of situations, one of the things that comes to me that is so helpful, it's everybody's favorite, Isaiah 41, "Fear thou not, for I am with thee." And about the time I got done thinking that, a nice young couple came along and asked me if I needed help, and I said I did. And it took both of them to get me up out of the gutter and get me upright, and I found I could stand, even though I knew I had hit something on my leg with a lot of force. And they gathered up all my belongings and were willing to walk me to my apartment, but it wasn't that far. So I kind of hobbled home, and I got out of the clothes. They were wet and muddy and lots of bleeding and things. And so I just got out of that. And I got into bed, and one of the first things that came to me was in these kind of experiences that are kind of shocking, was that nothing happened. I had to go right up there, not think about all the little things that might be wrong with my various parts. I had to know that it never happened. And one of the things I've sort of half memorized, I'm not very good at memorization, but in these kinds of things, and I have to refer to it because I want to get it right. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, and I can't actually tell you where it's from. As shadows of various kinds come into contact with each other and no harm ensues, so material objects coming in contact in what appears to be an accident makes no impression on the true consciousness, for in the realm of spirit, nothing has happened. So I prayed with that for about an hour, and realized that, number one, I had no pain, and my husband came home and helped me bandage some things so that it wouldn't make a mess in my clothes and things. I couldn't use one hand, so I needed a lot of help to do those things. But by the next day, I was fully able to walk, to do whatever I needed to do, and in the next following 2 to 3 days, everything that had appeared to be pretty seriously injured was healed. I'm very grateful that I had this experience. There was another thought about it. Oh, yeah, it's one of these other wonderful things from Isaiah. Again, on this idea of nothing has happened. And I've used this on many other situations, not like this one, but different situations. Again, Isaiah 41, behold, all they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. Thou shalt seek them and not find them. Not like we have to hide from danger. We can look for it and it's not there. And even them that contended with thee, they that war against thee, they shall be as nothing and as a thing of naught. And that was such a clear proof to me of realizing that right away, that it just didn't happen. Took care of anything that might have seemed to have been a part of that experience. It just vanished. So I'm very grateful for Mary Baker Eddy, for Christian Science, for this church.
Thank you. And thank you all for your testimonies and remarks and supportive prayers. Let's conclude with singing hymn number 149. 149. In love divine, all earthborn fear and sorrow fade as the dark when dawn pours forth her light. And understanding prayer is fully answered when trustingly we turn to God aright. Number 149.